I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brindley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Luther, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They, they don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Happy New Year, East Idaho fans. This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of Idaho high school athletics. Of course, you can catch this show on IdahoSports.com's Facebook page, YouTube channel, or X account. And then you can listen to the show on IdahoSports.com or wherever you download your podcasts. And don't forget, Ideal sponsors this show. It's a state-sponsored tax-advantaged savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. Ideal is so important, everyone. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. That's right. You can pay back those student loans with Ideal. For more information, go to idsavings.org and check them out and get that 529 going. My name is Joel Richardson. I am your host, and let's bring in the East Idaho expert and insider, Sean Kane. Sean's looking, he's looking a little bit sun-kissed. He's looking a little bit more tan than usual, and I don't think it's the Idaho sun we got today, Sean. The only thing you're missing are the mouse ears. Where have you been, Sean?
I was at Disney World. And yeah, it's probably the light that makes me look tan. I've got some different settings on the light here down in the command center.
I love it.
I have to, talk to the producer about that. Hey, less light next time. All right. We got it worked out. But yeah, I was in Orlando. I'm back. We're back at school. It's 22 degrees here in sunny Pocatello. And man, we had a lot of tournaments go on. We got a lot of basketball. We got wrestling. You're going to hear about wrestling later, probably this evening. But man, basketball, and I think we've talked about this, Joel. It's went like, it's like, oh, basketball and football kind of still going, girls basketball. And it's like, it's kind of the meat and potatoes time for girls basketball. We're going to dive into those conference games basically. And boys aren't too far along. A lot of boys are going to start kind of their first round, and girls are kind of waddling their way to the end here.
Definitely. We're only, Sean, I think we're 3 weeks away from district tournament play.
Yeah.
And we just had a big tournament happen this past weekend, the East Idaho Shootout. And that's what we're going to talk about most tonight, folks. Talk about the best teams, or at least the teams that perform the best in the East Idaho Shootout. And Sean, that tournament's very interesting because you have, I think it's like 52 programs, 180 games. So, and these programs come from everywhere from California, San Pedro, just north of
Colorado,
Nevada, Utah, Wyoming,
everywhere. Yeah.
And but you also, specifically for Idaho, you get teams from the west side, from Boise area, and from east side. It's the first time these teams get a look at each other live and get to play against each other. And some of these matchups we may see come February and March.
Oh yeah, big time. You'll see that the Ada County teams, a lot of these teams are going to match up later on. And probably answer some early questions and how you change things up or come back from that will be questions. But I mean, on the on the hindsight of it all, East Idaho performed so well against some really tough opponents. And I think that was really interesting. And what a great job. Ty Shippen puts a lot of this together. They got a lot of sponsors. They got more teams. I don't remember this many out-of-state teams last year. So, what a great job just to get a bunch of different looks and get your team tested, right? I think people take their teams to this, coaches, to get them tested. And It might not be an AP test, but it was definitely an honors.
Yeah, definitely. And let's talk about some of those teams, Sean, that were tested and came out on top. Our team of the week is going to come from girls basketball, Hillcrest. Now, Sean, you called it early when we kind of did our preview show. I know, Sean, he's right.
A little bit.
Okay, but you called it enough, right? Yeah, and we were talking, pre-game, pre-show, and Sean said, I mentioned Hillcrest, and sure enough, Sean, and we had our coaches on the show. We've had Coach Keck from Skyline, Coach Odom from Blackfoot. They both said, watch out for Hillcrest. Hillcrest started out a little quiet, Sean, in the season, but dude, at the East Idaho Shootout, they played phenomenal, and they are our East Idaho Prepcast Team of the Week.
Yeah, big time. And I'm going to just piggyback on that. And their coach alludes to this. They started out with a real hard schedule. They went 0-4, and you're probably not really thinking about it. But, they barely lost to Thunder Ridge by 6 points. They played Pocatello within 14 points. They lost to Skyline by 2 points. And then Madison kind of took care of business with them. That's that's a gauntlet of a start of a season. And it's a first-year head coach. Young team, as we're going to talk about a little bit. But Ryan Taylor just said they played really well all week, all weekend, right? And they've won 9 of the last 10 games. They got off to a slow start, but I wouldn't call it a slow start. I would just call it a hard start.
Yeah.
And he said new coaching staff, new system. They beat Highland. They beat Sandpoint. They beat a really good team from Meade, Colorado in the championship game, 53-51, barn burner. They were number 2 in the 5A teams of state Colorado. The Colorado win was probably their grittiest performance they've had all year. They were down by 11 late, came back to win that game. They're very deep. They're balanced. They got a lot of just different weapons, and they had a sophomore. Their sophomore, Cameron Taylor, averaged 13 points in the game. Kessler, a senior, 11 points, and their MVP was the other Kessler, Kaya Kessler, the younger sister,
right,
was the MVP of that last game. And they just have a lot of young players, and they shoot a lot of threes and just a lot of different things. They have sophomore Brindley Nelson. She's also a very phenomenal tennis player, got out there with great shooting from a lot of different people. But Ryan Taylor he got back to me really quickly. I think,
juiced from the weekend, man.
There's a lot of teams in that District 6, and I think that's the thing. It's been a good thread of our show is we haven't had we've had 2 District 6 girls coaches on, and none of them are like, oh, we've got this wrapped up in the bag. You wouldn't expect that from a coach, but if you're playing well and stuff, you're gonna say but they're all like, it's gonna be so competitive. And we were kind of thinking Skyline, Hillcrest, or Skyline,
Blackfoot.
Shelley, Blackfoot.
Yep.
Blackfoot with a hot start, and now Hillcrest, and Shelley's still good as well. And this conference is just, right now, Skyline's 4-0, Blackfoot's 3-1, Hillcrest is 3-2, Shelley's 3-2. So you've got all those teams that I think on any given night could beat each other. But Hillcrest, congrats for winning 3 games, beating a out-of-team state, and win that Army Division Championship. What a just phenomenal job by Ryan Taylor in his first year at the Hillcrest Knights.
Yeah, so congratulations to Hillcrest. Phenomenal tournament. A gauntlet of a start, like you said. All those teams that you mentioned when they went 0-4, 0-5, those are all top 5 teams, if not top 3 teams in their respective classifications, Sean. So, yeah, gauntlet of a start. A great tournament, and like you said, now Hillcrest is on a roll, and I like how you mentioned those records. Everyone is really close. Anyone can win at any given night, but watch out. Hillcrest is our team of the week, and they are coming in hot as we come to kind of mid-end of this season. And as we really get in tournament play, we'll be watching Hillcrest closely. Other notable games, Sean, or notable performances from around this East Idaho Shootout. From girls basketball, then we'll go to boys basketball. Madison, they got second in their Navy bracket, lost to a great Middleton team, Sean, 57-48, only lost by 9, nothing to shake your head at. Skyline got third in the Coast Guard bracket, third over Sandpoint, 60-47, so they won that third place game. And then Idaho Falls. We haven't talked about Idaho Falls, but here comes Idaho Falls winning their bracket, the Air Force. They're the Air Force champs. winning 62-55 over a very good South Fremont team, Sean, who's up there in that Mountain Rivers Conference between with South Fremont, Teton, and Sugar Salmon. They're really, really tight, neck and neck. They've all lost 1 or 2 games, if that many. And Idaho Falls went in and beat South Fremont. Any of those performances stick out to you from those teams?
I think Madison is where I would kind of pitch my horse just a little bit, because I think, the Pocatello Thunder beat Madison, but then Pocatello Thunder lose the West Lake Thunder from Utah. And then Madison beats that team in a close game. West Lake Thunder from Utah 39-35, and then fall just short to Middleton. For Madison, a team that was in the rankings, not in the rankings, it's just they're a team that can go out and win big games, and it's kind of interesting to see. So that was kind of big. I felt like Shelley did a good job too. They won they beat Sandpoint pretty decisively. They lost to an out-of-state school, and then they ended up playing that West Lake team was pretty good.
Yeah, they were.
The top of the division, the Navy division, was just loaded. You had Middleton, Meade Mavericks from Colorado, which is a top team. You have Rigby Trojans, you have Eagle Mustangs from Idaho, Pocatello Thunder, Westlake Thunder, Jesuit Raiders from Colorado, and Moss and Bobcats. So just that whole bracket in itself was a lot to take in to me. And Middleton beating Eagle, and then Madison getting a shot at Middleton, but they don't have to play Middleton because Middleton moved down a division. And I know me and you are both kind of hoping Pocatello Thunder Middleton, right? They're 1 and 2, and I think it just switched now that Middleton might be a little above. Yep. If I had to
Pokey
vote,
drops 2 games in that tournament,
and if I had to vote, just based off this past weekend, because it's really the only competition, I would have to get a slight edge to Middleton, and then I would definitely Thunder easily the number 2. I mean, being 1 and 2 doesn't really matter in the big scheme of things. But yeah, just a lot of good action. Like you said, South Fremont was good. Skyline comes in with a 3rd place. Hillcrest, won. Idaho Falls wins as well, and in that division over a very good South Fremont team. I think South Fremont is a team that we're going to see later on postseason.
Definitely.
That's a loaded team. Just a lot of good wins for East Idaho teams, and most ended up with a win at the end, like Century and Highland, Bonneville as well. Most teams ended up with a win at the end of the tournament, which is great.
And a team that didn't end up with a win, you referenced this, Sean. Pocatello lost to Westlake, Utah by 13, and then they lost to Eagle by 2 in the 3rd place game. So Pocatello comes out of this tournament a little hobbled. But Sean, I had a great conversation with head coach Sonny Evans in preparation for tomorrow night's game. We'll talk about that a little later. Pocatello's going up to Shelley to play in that 5A classification game. Should be a good one. But Sonny liked that they lost those games. I mean, you never want to lose, but hey, you lose in this tournament. It's their first 2 losses of the season. Their locker room was really strong after those losses. She liked how the locker room had responded. And, they made the decision as a team to not do too much pre-Christmas, or I guess between Christmas and New Year's. They didn't have a lot of games. I think their last game was like the 17th or 18th before Christmas. And then they didn't do much. I don't know how much they practiced, but they didn't have any games. A lot of teams were kind of squeezing in some games there, maybe between Christmas and New Year's. But Pocatello made a conscious decision. We're not going to play more games. We're going to rest. Apparently, she said some of the players came back to her and said that was the longest break, coach, that we've had since in 3 years, right? Because they're all playing. A lot of these players are dual sport athletes. They're playing soccer, volleyball, then they go right into basketball tryouts, and they're playing games during the summer. They're playing with clubs, whatever. So they made that conscious decision to take a break and not play a lot. They go into the tournament, they lose a couple games, but she liked how the locker room was responded. So Pocatello didn't end with a win. They came out 1 and 2. They did get 1 win in that tournament.
Teton, a very good Teton team. They smoked them 61-24. So you could tell they were, ready to go after that. Maybe that first game was an adjustment to get back under it. And that Teton team is no slouch either. Again, that will be a battle in that conference as well. But that 61-24 win over Teton, and very close against a very good Eagle team that is kind of gets lost in the wind to Hawaii right now. I think that Eagle team is very good.
And yeah, so I think we got to be patient with Pocatello and see how they respond against Shelley on Wednesday. Sean, let's move on to our boys side of basketball, our top boys teams and how they performed at the East Idaho Shootout. We had Madison; they were the Army champs in their bracket. Century, the Air Force champs in their bracket, and then Bonneville, the Marine champs. We had 3 boys teams from East Idaho taking championships. I want to say that's 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 4 from East Idaho.
Yeah, I think 3 out of 4. Yep, you'd be right. 3 out of 4.
So a really impressive job. Which from East Idaho, what teams do you want to highlight there at Madison, Century, Bonneville?
Well, I'm going to start with Madison, so I'm not the hometown hero. But
I'll take Century.
Madison, Shane Humphreys got back to me, and he just talked about how it was just an overall great effort. You have Bryce Wilson rebounding, scoring 10 points per game. You have Carter Lewell shooting the ball. He's a really good 3-point shooter. Then you have Nash Humphreys doing Nash Humphrey things, right? Thursday had 25 points, Friday 41, and then Saturday 32 points. I mean, this Nash Humphreys is
just so good, man.
He's having a year, right? I don't know if we're giving him enough credit. And they played, and they played tough teams, right? They go, they take on San Pedro Pirates from California.
Yep. Right.
I'm just going to assume they're good. It was 74-61. They beat Westlake Thunder from Utah in overtime, 69-68. And then they take Ridgeview, which I knew Ridgeview has one of the good players, one of the better players in Idaho, and they beat them 62-52. And Ridgeview now up in the 5A for basketball.
Yeah.
And so that was just in both that was just a really good tournament for Madison and just playing well. And yeah, Shane Humphreys he's been really excited about how everyone played. He says everyone's playing with a lot of confidence. They're trusting each other, and now the defense is playing a lot better. So with that trust and not worrying about scoring, all that defensive plan is really coming together. And I mean, watch out, Madison. I mean, we talked about them a lot last year, but I mean, this year it's a team with Shane Humphreys who on any given night is going to give you 30 points. I think you're in a game because, we talked about when they played the Pocatello Thunder, they had like 4 guys on him. He still had, 30 points and only played 3 quarters. So I mean, I don't know what you do. You got to pick your poison. Like, do you double team? And he's a true point guard too, right? Shane Humphreys, I think that's what's lost too. He's a true point guard, but he can really score when he needs to. That first step is phenomenal. And I just don't know what you do defensively to stop him, because if you go to a zone, we're talking 3 or 4 guys on mask and shoot threes, and they're on. It's going to be a long night.
Well, and I watched a lot of Lakers basketball growing up, living down there in Orange County, LA. And the commentators always said you can't stop Kobe, right? You can't stop the guy, but what you want to try to do is force him to take tough shots and force him to pass the ball, and he's going to get his 30, 35. But if you can force him to some tough shots and forcing him to pass, then you're forcing, for lack of a better word, his other teammates to step up and score points. The problem is Kobe had a great surrounding cast around him, which is why he won, right? And so Nash Humphreys, I think it's the same thing. How do you contain it, or how do you stop him? You contain. The funny thing is, like you said, he's getting double, triple teamed every game, and he's still
and he doesn't put up an easy shot. Any highlight, crazy shots. Any highlight is like someone gets that shot once every 2 years, and he's making them, right? So I don't know. I mean, and he really hasn't had an off night all year. That's the thing. Like he's working really hard every night. So, but yeah, and now the other players, they just got a good complement of players. Madison does that can all shoot. They're all rebounding. When I watched that Pocatello Thunder game with Madison, everyone rebounds. And I think when it comes down, Shane Humphreys isn't big, maybe like 6'2", but he's even trying to get rebounds. I mean, when you rebound the ball and play defense, the offense seems really wide open.
Definitely. You mentioned some of those players. We got to shout out Bryce Wilson, who rebounds like you said. Carter Lorwell, who's shooting the ball from behind the arc very well. Great complementary players around Nash Humphreys, and of course he gets to play under his dad, Shane Humphreys, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, Nash Humphreys could probably be our East Idaho player of the week, East Idaho Prepcast player of the week every week. But we want to. But you're right, Sean. We probably haven't given him enough credit just because he is so good. He continues to rattle off 30-point games, averaging 25 plus a night.
I just meant like there's been players that everyone is just really hyped about, and he just doesn't get that same level of hype. Like at Julian Bowie last year, Hillcrest. Why is his name leaving my mind?
Yeah,
the big center,
Utah State dude.
Yeah, holy Hannah, and you've got all these players that get all this recognition, and I mean, he's no. If you know basketball, he's not a stranger, but
sure. Isaac Davis, by the way.
Isaac Davis, yeah, holy Hannah, yeah, expert my butt.
You're doing great, man. Hey, we're coming off the holiday. It's 2025. It's a new year. We're easing into this. But you know what, Sean? Let's start right now. We're gonna be the hype guys for Nash Humphreys. Okay. We're gonna give the guy the credit he deserves. We're gonna hype him up. And we're going to
make us look good. I have no doubt.
Exactly. We'll put some money on him. Just kidding. We're not going to do that. But no, we're going to make sure that every week we're doing a little. Maybe we should do like a Nash Humphreys,
corner.
Yeah, Nash Humphreys corner. Yeah, exactly. Nash Humphreys this week does this and this. But you're right. We haven't heard probably enough about him across Idaho. We've definitely seen stuff from East Idaho News. I think Idaho State Journal, Brandon Wilson doing good work there. But let's hype up Nash Humphreys. And with that, Sean, we got a great comment coming in from Leah. I hope I get your name right here. Leah Lescance-Clute. Oh man, I'm so sorry, but I love your first name. I have a cousin named Leah. Great person. I love Nash. She says, great athlete with a heart. So we're gonna hype up Nash. We're gonna keep that rolling and make sure he gets all that credit that he deserves. And hopefully, man, he goes to college for free, Sean. Nothing better than getting a free education and playing a little more ball if that's what the
Boise
the kids
State
want.
I think he's committed to Boise State.
Okay.
So
right on.
I don't know how the commitment thing works anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. He committed and then gone the next year. But we won't get into that right now. So great job by Madison. Nash Humphreys continuing to do Nash Humphreys things. Okay, Century, Sean. They're the Air Force champs. 60-20 over Sugar Salem. Peja Weed, one of the best names in Idaho sports. He was the MVP in that game. Sean, over 3 games, he had 10 assists, only 3 turnovers. I know when I'm just playing pickup ball and I'm trying to dish, I'm turning the ball over, every third time. The fact that he was averaging 10 assists and only committed 3 turnovers, that's super, super impressive. Got to be from that soccer playing, Sean, that he did in the fall.
Yeah, he's just smooth
and then 20
operator.
Points in the championship game.
Yeah, smooth operator. Talked to Ryan Frost, and they played Lakeland, right, in the first round, and this Lakeland team's really good. Ryan will attest to that, and they beat him 68-44, and I mean that was a good win. And then they played Shelley, and they'd beaten Shelley before, but I'll tell you, Shelley is a dark horse team. I think they're very good as well, and they get through Shelley, and then they play Sugar, and I believe they played Sugar last year in the championship game of some bracket in the shootout as well. And they didn't win, and then they came away with a win this past weekend. But yeah, Peja doing a really good game. He averaged 14 through the tournament, but had 20 in that championship game, and nothing more important than the and one that gave him the lead. Right, he goes in, gets fouled, makes a 3 throw, puts them up by 2, pretty much ices that game. But a nice job. I look at Century's schedule, and I was, talking to Coach Ryan Frost of Century, and they're 7-3 right now, and they could very easily be 10-0. They could have won the 3 other games they played. So, they're a tough team. But again, Preston is in this conference as well. Yeah. But Century, after last year, kind of struggling. They have a really good group of guys. Adrian Gonzalez, your favorite Justice Magnum had a great tournament. He averaged 12 points per game, 13 in the championship, and he's seen his role extend, so he did a really good job. And then, just to think about in this bracket, Shelley ends up taking third. So, you got through essentially kind of went through the gauntlet in this bracket and did a good job.
And is Justice Mangum, is he still coming off the bench, or you mentioned his role is expanding? Is he coming off like after 2 minutes, or is he coming off after like 5 minutes?
The games I've been at, he's kind of like the sixth man.
Okay.
I think it just kind of depends. There's a lot of different scenarios and what happens, because you have Deacon Crabtree and Luke Webb are kind of the two bigs, and they'll start, but maybe one will come out and they'll go a little smaller or foul trouble or something. But yeah, it seems like he's getting more and more minutes as a sophomore. He's only a sophomore and he's doing a real good job. And I think as he gets a little more time under his belt, he's going to be a very dangerous player.
Yeah, I just love the spark that he provides off the bench. We saw it in football, and it continues in basketball. Shout out to Ryan Frost, man, friend of the program. I should have brought my shirt, Sean.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so, hey, folks, Ryan Frost comes in the program. We really appreciate him coming on. We should have been sending him some swag, but Sean, no. That's who he is, man.
I'll take care of that.
All right, sounds good. He sent me a shirt, a cool Century basketball shirt. I wish I had it here to show it. But yeah, hey, if you guys want us to wear your swag on the show, I should have worn it today, but I was kind of rushing. We were finishing up dinner, and I was still wearing my shirt from work. But I wanted to wear that shirt to show it off, not to be a Century homer as we're here in Pocatello, you and I, but to show that hey, we'll represent the teams who send us swag. So send us swag at Sean Kane 182 at E1 Educador, and we will wear your swag on the show. Also, don't forget to folks to like and subscribe, to comment, shout out your favorite team, player, or even coach, and then get your coach to come on the show, and it'll be even better for you because we send the good vibes as other teams have seen. You come on the show, you're going to win the next day, man. Sean, we also had Bonneville get back to games. The last team that played really well, Bonneville Bees, they're the Marines champs in their bracket. 75-64 over the Evanston Devils to seal their victory and to seal that tournament win.
Yeah, and I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I think what's most impressive is I've seen Bonneville, and they're a tough team, and Century pulled out a win against them. But I mean, it was a close game. But Bonneville beat Snake River in that first round, 60-49. And I really think Snake River is going to be a team we're going to be talking about a lot later.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's a big win to me. I mean, Snake River's kind of playing semi up in this bracket. But Bonneville, what a great job. They go out, they take care of business. Taylor Jordan has 28 points in that game over the Devils. And, they, again, it's just the tale as old as time, District 6, and who's going to be good. You've got Bonneville's really good. Blackfoot is a really good team. Ryan Frost is one telling me that, Blackfoot is really good. And then, I remember Hillcrest, they were in the championship game 2 years in a row.
Right.
We haven't come up all that much. But I think, everyone still kind of thinks they're the team to beat in that conference. But yeah, nice job by Bonneville going out and winning as well. It's nice to see East Idaho across all the end lines of the bracket tournament.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Sean, I think that's going to do it for the East Idaho Shootout, unless there are any other teams, any kind of teams that maybe didn't play as well or were kind of sneaky good, but maybe weren't in, didn't finish as a top team.
Teton took third in the same bracket as the Bonneville did in Teton.
Let's talk about Teton, man.
Yeah, they played well. They beat Wood River easily 60-30. They beat that Devils team that takes second place, beat them. It was close, 53-42. And then they beat Layton Christian in that third place game. Close one, 42-44. And Layton is from Utah as well. These are a bunch of schools I've never heard of. So it's been interesting to learn about that. So yeah, and for boys, there was one other team that I thought was pretty impressive that we haven't given a lot of shout out to, and that's Thunder Ridge Titan boys.
Mm.
That's a team that I find very intriguing, right? They play Boise Brave out of Idaho, and they win 69-44, and then they play it was closer than the final score, but a Meridian Warriors team that's very good, and they lose 69-50, and then they go down. I can't remember what they do. The bracket's wanky, but
yeah.
Anyways,
I'm looking for them for you.
They played
in the consolation bracket. Right?
Yeah.
But I see Pocatello Thunder. I
No,
don't see Thunder Ridge.
No, they go into like a third place game.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't know. I don't know where they went. Maybe they only played 2.
Yeah, maybe
they've had that one.
They got bounced.
They only have so many spots, and then a lot of times if you don't have enough games left on your schedule, you'll only play 2. That happened last year. It's like Shelley girls only was signed up for 2 games no matter what. So
yeah.
But anyways, that was a team I kind of thought was interesting, and that is playing well in a conference, kind of forgotten a little bit because you have this Madison team that's a juggernaut.
Right.
But they're 4-6. I mean, it's tight in that District 6 conference. And you now have Canyon Ridge, who's newly introduced. You have Rigby. It's always usually Rigby Madison, right?
Right.
But it'll be interesting. I think the Thunder Ridge team has a lot of good athletes as well.
And I think tonight I know Highland's playing Canyon Ridge in there. Yeah, tonight is their first conference game for boys basketball, Highland Canyon Ridge. So I'm assuming Thunder Ridge as well has their first conference game. They're playing Rigby as we speak. Well, maybe not as we speak. At 7:30, their game starts today, January 7th. So yeah, the conference play starts now, Sean, and this is where it matters, right? You win your conference games, you get a good seed in the tournament, and that sets you up nicely to maybe make a run. So yeah. I like that call on Thunder Ridge. Let's see. You also mentioned Teton, and the girls and boys, it's the same thing, right, Sean? Another tale as old as time. Just super tight in terms of Sugar Salem, South Fremont, and Teton. You never know on who's going to win. I don't remember how many bids. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but how many bids go from Mountain Rivers Conference to state? It's probably not enough, just like it was with soccer. But what a great conference! Just what a great.
We'll have to see. It might be 1.5 now. It might have only been 1.
I sure hope so, man.
It might be like you win. I don't know. We'll have to get to that a little later because
for sure.
As we had the classification rearrange, I won't say change, rearrange.
Right.
Some of those things have district tournaments will be a little different, and that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, all those teams are always good. Sugar Salem girls, I think, are the only team that hasn't lost.
They are 13-0, Sean. Well, and then South Fremont is 11-1, and Teton is also 11-1. I think they start their conference play in a week or so.
But I'm just saying, in girls basketball, I don't think anyone's undefeated besides them.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So. And they're a young team too, so that'll be fun too. But yeah, a lot of good teams. It's fun to play those games because a lot of times you're getting different classification matchups, bigger, smaller schools, however you want to look at it, and see where you stand. But like I always say, any given night, your best 5 probably can take on anyone else's best 5.
Right.
So.
And for their conference play, Teton, this is girls basketball. Go back to girls really fast. Sugar Salem, Teton, South Fremont, they start their conference play January 17th. So 10 days from today, they'll start conference play. But they also have mixed in, because there's only 3 of them, right? They have mixed in some non-conference play. And then their last 2 games, Sean, Teton, this is Sugar Salem plays Teton, then South Fremont to finish the season. That's going to be, I cannot wait for those games.
Well, out of those 3 teams, they've only lost 2 games.
Right. Love it. Hey, before we move on, Sean, let's recognize again our sponsor, Ideal, who's making this Prepcast possible tonight. Ideal is a state-sponsored, tax-advantaged savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. So for more information, go to idsavings.org. Sean, let's finish our Prepcast tonight, going over some intriguing matchups coming up in the this next week. And of course, we'll talk about those matchups next week. We got a great one on Wednesday. Like I teased earlier, Pocatello at Shelley this Wednesday. And we also have some boys games this week. What games are you looking forward? Are you watching as the most intriguing to you?
The game I find the most intriguing is happening tonight. We're District 6 5A Hillcrest versus Blackfoot. I feel like I don't know enough.
Girls or boys?
Boys. I want boys. I feel like I don't know enough about. I mean, I know a lot about Hillcrest. I don't feel like I know enough about Blackfoot. I feel like this is kind of a big game for both teams to establish kind of, we're the team to beat maybe in this conference because it's pretty undecided now. So that game I'm really looking forward to. And for girls, I think we're just like a week away from like really big games.
Yeah.
I think there's some smaller conference games that are pretty interesting because we did have some just the media polls, right?
Right.
Come out not too long ago, or at least I'm gonna go with the coaches poll because I like that one a little better. But the girls coaches poll, if we go down to that 1A division, you have Rockland coming at number 1, but you have the team I always kind of bring up, and I did steal that a little bit from Brandon, but Ledor 6-0 right now, and on the poll they're in the 5th spot. So pretty interested to see, and I was going to double check.
Well, and the media poll, Sean, has the media poll that just came out today for girls basketball has Ledor number 3. So media giving a bit more love to Ledor than the coaches are.
Yeah. So, and then if I look at it, I think Ledor, Giesing, are maybe the only other 2 teams that are totally undefeated in girls basketball. So
yeah, Genesee,
yeah. And they're always tough in that White Pine League. But Ledor, a team doing really well, and they've done nothing but win. They have a game tonight against Shoban. Shoban always a tough opponent. And again, that Rocky Mountain Conference, you always kind of have maybe top 4, then you got a middle, and then you got a bottom, and Shoban's always in the top 4 or 5.
Right.
So any given night, that Shoban team, they're 1-1 in conference. Ledor's 2-0. You know what's going to happen. So, but Ledor are doing really well, and that'll be a good conference game as they take on Shoban tonight.
Right on. The games the game that I'm looking at closely, I'm kind of cheating a little bit, Sean. The game I'm going to be at tomorrow night with Logan Kels, we'll be broadcasting that game live on IdahoSports.com, live and free on IdahoSports.com. But yeah, Pokey going up to visit Shelley. Both teams licking their wounds after they came out of the East Idaho Shootout. Shelley played decently well, but I think both teams went 1-2 in their tournaments. Again, close games for both, but still, they only won 1 game, lost 2. I'm curious how both teams respond. Again, had a great conversation with Coach, with Sunny Evans of Pocatello, and she likes where their team is at despite their losses. And so, man, I love it when both teams are coming off losses, and because one team's got to lose, one team's got to win, right at the end of the day. And I want to see how both teams come out. And Sean, like you've mentioned, Shelley may be struggling this year, trying to figure out life, without their star player. Brindley Cannon.
There you go. But, I knew that one.
Okay, right. Right. From our intro, right. The Justice League. But trying to figure out life without Brindley Cannon. But on any given night, Shelley, like you said, is going to bring it. And so I'm curious how they do against a very good Pocatello team that also, that lost their first 2 games for the first time all season.
To me, it seems kind of simple because I've seen both these teams play this year, and Shelley gives up a lot of size to Pocatello.
Right.
But if Shelley can hit shots, if they can hit 3-pointers, and where's this game happening at?
It's at Shelley.
At Shelley.
Yep.
If they can hit 3-pointers, it's going to be tough. But if Pocatello gets, Garza and Lusk down low, and they get,
Easy buckets.
Physical. It's going to be, I don't know if Shelly has enough to throw at two people down low, and Abby Lusk is pretty much like playing kind of like how Brindley Cannon played last year, where she could bring the ball up, kind of do it all, go inside, can be that middle defender, that fifth position if Garz is out. Like you've got, you start them, right? But you don't have to play them both at the same time. And Shelly lacks a little bit of the size, but I don't know how much that matters. I'm saying it now because I've watched a lot of girls basketball, and everyone always talks about, you can't teach height. But you got Sunny Evans and Jessica Carlson, two great coaches that are able to game plan. So, it's not gonna be that a simple, and it might come down to that, right? Who can come up with a game plan to beat them. And I'm sure Shelly is watching some of the games Pocatello just played, because they've, finally lost. How did they beat them? And then same with Thunder. They're going to look at some of that Shelly film. Shelly beat Sandpoint, who's going to probably, I would say, make it to the tournament this year too. So it's good. And it's good too, because it doesn't really matter. It's not a conference game, but it's a good stepping stone. I think for like Shelly, if they beat Pocatello Thunder, that'd be
massive.
Skyrocket them as they head into this late, this conference juggernaut play they're going to have in District 6. For Pocatello, like, Sonny Evans was telling you, they lose. Maybe it's a good thing. They regroup.
Right.
Or they just go and they win by 20. You never know, but a good late season test for both teams.
Definitely. I like how you mentioned Abby Lusk playing that Brindley Cannon role, but now for Pocatello, coach said the same thing. Abby Lusk can play everywhere. She kind of reminds me, frankly, of a LeBron James, who can bring that ball up. But
Scottie Pippen. I call her the Scottie Pippen.
All right, Scottie Pippen.
That's because I'm in a better era of basketball than some other people.
That's right. You got Scottie Pippen, I got LeBron James. But someone who can just play every position and is really good at every position. And Coach Evans said that it's nice to have Abby Lusk, who can go down low, but who can also shoot from outside. But Sean, I think you're right. Shelly, and we've seen it with small ball, right? If Shelly can hit enough threes, it's math, right? Threes are more than twos. The problem is when the shots stop falling, where do you go? And I think that's where Shelly falls behind too often, is they don't have the size to just put up a quick layup, go down low, a little inside, outside. A lot of the game is outside. A lot of the game is Mia Williams. Shut down Mia Williams, shut down the shooters, and Pocatello should get the win. But man, if Shelly gets hot and you're at home, so that you give yourself a few more points. Pocatello loses a few more points because it's an away game, because it's at home for Shelly, and we could have a very intriguing matchup. But like you said, it not a conference game, but a good kind of mid-late season game, a litmus test for both these teams to see where they're going. Sean, where are you going to be this week?
No,
Thursday.
No, well, I mean, I won't be broadcasting in games, but I'll be on the mic Thursday for Century Boys versus Burley Bobcats. I'll be at that's my only game this week, and that's all right. I'm a little tired, but
yeah, totally.
that'll be a good one. It's been really fun to see the Century Boys team kind of develop from last year to this year, because it's roughly the same guys really that are, you have Peja Weed and Adrian Gonzalez, and you have Deacon Crabtree playing significantly more than he did last year, and he's really I think done a good job of etching out a role on this team and doing a good job. So they've been fun to see, and it's always fun to play a out of conference opponent from the Magic Valley.
Yeah, I love it. So looking forward to that game for Sean, who won't be broadcasting it, but if you guys are in Pocatello, you want to go hit up Sean, go to that Century game, Burley, say hi to Sean Kane at SKane182. Send him some love, send him some swag. Sean Kane needs more swag from East Idaho teams. And if you want to come say hi, I'll be tomorrow night, be at Shelly Pocatello at E1 Educador. Send me some swag. Love to wear it on the show. And if you want some good vibes, get your coach, get your player on the show. We'll ask him some really deep, really tough questions. Just kidding. We'll ask him some questions, have a good interview, and your team will win at least 2 more games after after the show.
Guaranteed to.
Guaranteed to. Sean, let's shout out one more time our great sponsor for the show. It's Ideal. It's a state-sponsored tax-advantaged savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. Costs of college are rising, so developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping you all finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even paying off those nasty student loans. So for more information, go to idsavings.org and hit up Ideal and get that 529 going for your child and pay less for college, because not all of us can be Nash Humphreys and go to college for free, right, Sean? There you go. There's the shout out. We did it.
There you go. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Plan early. Ideal's giving you an opportunity to do that early and, often. And it's a great tool. As any coach will tell you, you need all the tools you can. And that savings program is a tool that everyone can use and benefit from.
Yeah. I like it a lot. Take advantage. We'll be back next week. No more vacations, Sean. We are hitting the ground. We are maybe jogging, but by next week we will be sprinting, running as fast as we can to keep up with all these matchups. We're going to sign off, and in about, what is it, Sean? About 30 minutes, I think the wrestling.
Yeah. So if you're like,
chat shows up.
So if you get on here and like, you guys never talk about wrestling, and it's like, tune in to Matt Chat Tuesday nights. It'll be far better than anything me and Joel can give you about wrestling. 100%. But wrestling in Idaho has just been phenomenal, and they do. I tune in and watch that, and you get all the insides out, and there's so much to know, right? Every weight division, every classification, and these guys hit it all. And we added girls, right? And the girls is blown up.
The girls are killing it. They're so
blown
good.
up. And they're going to college, it's crazy. So yeah, if you're thinking like, man, East Idaho Prepcast really is dogging wrestling, not really. And we'll get some wrestling in there as well when districts come or some bigger tournaments. Some of those big tournaments, we're gonna definitely highlight those players as well. But yeah, some wrestling starting to heat up as well.
Yeah, I love it. And we'll be hitting that more as the weeks go on. But for now, we're going to close. That's Sean Kane. I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. Enjoy the games this week, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully next week at a normal time, Sean, Wednesday at 7:30, depending on when our games are. And we'll talk more East Idaho sports on IdahoSports.com.